Hello and welcome to Pleasantview, 100 years later. I don't know if that's completely accurate, but I've tried to work it out based on the oldest living Sims in Pleasantview right now. The only survivors from the start of the game, from the original set of families every Pleasantview starts with, are Alexander Goth, still living in the Goth household over here, and Bo Broke, who's a toddler when the game starts, and he's on this end of town. They're both approaching the end of their lives right now, and they've both had a couple of sips of the elixir of life, so their ages aren't quite accurate. They shouldn't be the same age, but that's how it's worked out. But I think 100 years is about right. I do also have an extended age span mod, so everyone does live a lot longer, but kind of relative terms, I think it all works out. So I started playing this neighbourhood in 2014, when EA released the game for free. They just gave it away, and I snapped it up pretty quickly and started playing Pleasantview immediately. I started playing rotationally fairly quickly, but wasn't very kind of consistent in the beginning. It was pretty casual. I added bin families in whenever I felt like it, really. So for example, the Optimus family, I put those in at certain points. The Newsons, the Burbs, they're all here as well. So yeah, as I said, Alexander and Bo shouldn't be the same age, but that's kind of how it worked out. They went to college together, so at some point I went a bit out of sync, but now it's all back where it should be. So as you can probably tell, my Pleasantview has grown a little bit. I've done a rough count, and I've got 27 households in this view that I'm playing. This is the whole town here. Plus 2 current university sets, so two sets of people in university right now. And I've also added Malcolm Landgrab and the Ramirez family from Blue Water Village recently, because I love punishment, apparently. At some point I did break up the Tinkers. They've been married into this, the main Pleasantview. I didn't really realise they were townies at the time, so they got absorbed. But the name's gone, sadly. So I've always taken a pretty casual approach. You can probably tell by the lots. I just sort of put them in whenever I want to, whenever I need space. There's plenty of empty houses at the moment for people to move into, thankfully, because I've not used any kind of population control. Everyone's got loads of kids at the moment. And I play once-based, but I think of it more as once-based plus, which is their wants plus whatever I feel like doing. I do have one pretty rigid rule, and that is a class system. I don't think this should apply in the real world, but I think it's fun for The Sims to have some limitations, especially in Pleasantview, because everyone can get related really, really quickly. So I've tried to kind of get around that a little bit. So I have upper, middle, and lower class households. The upper class families are in this end of town mainly, towards the seaside, and that's the Goths, the main house, and the Calientes. The Calientes there because Dina had 2 children with Mortimer. They didn't marry, so her name stayed the same, but his children were able to kind of stay at the same class level, and they are, this is one of her sons, for example, this older Sim here, that's Cesare. So basically it is all Goths, but just 2 different branches. Because I am adding Malcolm Landgrab, he's also going to be upper class, because he's very wealthy as well, so I need more rich Sims, and that's where I want them to be. Middle class, generally in the middle of the town here, just to keep things easy, are the Dreamers. Let's find some Dreamers, there's quite a few of them. They've expanded, we've got Dreamers here. Pleasants, and the Lotharios. Lower class are of course the Brokes, and there are Brokes pretty much all over the place. You've got more Brokes over there as well. They expanded. The Burbs are lower class. I think I may have made a mistake there. But the Optimuses are also lower class. The Newsons. And a family called the Pakulskis. You may have seen those there. I added those in. I needed some genetic diversity. So I did have one. I've got one custom family, and they're the ones I built in. I am thinking I should have made the Burbs middle class to begin with. This is John's son, Adam. As the elder father here. So I may kind of make the middle class just because the middle is a little bit underrepresented at the moment. So yeah, I may change that. So the main restriction is marriage related. Upper class Sims can only marry townies or middle class Sims. Middle class can marry anyone, which is great for them. There's no real restrictions there. Lower class can only marry middle class Sims or townies or dormies or anyone that's an NPC. It's kind of free for anybody, but it's very hard for them to marry upwards. That being said, it has happened. It's what I want to do, so I kind of change the rules when I think it suits the story. Your class is set by your surname, so the main Dreamer household, for example, in here, it's a middle class family, but a Goth has married in. So, and taken his wife's name. So he's now middle class, and so are his children. So they don't have upper class names, they are in that middle class band. Other restrictions are around services the households can hire. Upper class can hire anybody, middle class can't have butlers, and lower class really can't have anybody except for nannies if nobody's working. Oh, sorry, if everyone in the household is working. Private schools also restricted. The only people that can apply for private school are upper class families, the children of those families, or if your parent went to private school, then your children can apply as well. Despite that, there's no restriction on university. Anyone can go, and it's free for everybody. The only restriction is from the Sims' own skill points. I used to cheat up their skills to get them through, because I couldn't bear them failing, but now there's so many going. If they fail, they fail. If they can make skill points while they're there, fantastic. But if not, they'll only get as far as their skills will take them. I do have a few mods around managing money. Money quite quickly became just way too easy to get from the first few years of playing. Everyone was pretty wealthy. It was hard to kind of manage having restrictions. If they got the money, they can do anything, then it didn't really become as fun. So all Max's careers salaries are now halved in my game, so it's much harder to make money. And I have a bills controller which has made bills a lot higher to begin with, so that I could kind of get money a bit more in control. And then now it's about Max's average to kind of keep people, to kind of allow people to make money, but not have huge amounts flying about the entire town. Rent's cheap, and loans are available for any sim that needs to buy a house, wants to move out, go on vacation, whatever it is. The loan jar can be used by anyone. So I play rotationally by season, and that lets me see who's where in the rotation. So at the moment, I'm sort of beginning, middle of spring. There are some families that I played that are up to summer. I'll show you a couple of those. You can see their icons. And seasons are 5 days. So it's a nice, easy way to keep track of everything. As you can imagine, with all these households and the university, it takes a long time to play through a full rotation, but I do find this way of doing it really relaxing, really easy to keep up with. When I get bored of one family, or I'm just kind of stuck in the middle of spring with a goth household, for example, I can leave, go to a different household. I don't ever generally play a full season through with any given family. I'll maybe do 3 days with them, move somewhere else, and kind of keep going from there. And then when I come back, I can see where I'm up to, which households to play next, which rotation I'm in. That makes it really handy. I really like doing it this way. I do wish I could show you a complete spreadsheet of my incredible organisation of what's happened in this town for the past 8 years of playing the save, but I didn't set one up in the beginning. I didn't really know about them, and a few times I've tried since. It's just too many Sims. I want to play the game, and I never sit down and write up everything for them. I've also changed the way I manage things like lifetime aspiration. Initially, I just did dice rolls. I would roll a d6 and go from there. Same for secondary aspiration. I'm now using more set ways of doing it, which I'm really enjoying. So I've always sort of changed the way I play depending on how I feel, and that I think a spreadsheet would also... it would have been great to have that record, but I do have 8 years of screenshots, so I can go back to 2014 whenever I like and see what happened for these Sims' lives. So I get all those kind of big moments, and I do try and update the family bios again as often as I remember. This for the Calientes, their daughter died a while ago now. She was Elliot's older sister, so that's kind of a little bit out of date, but I'll get around to updating it, I'm sure, at some point soon. I'll put the oldest screenshot I have. I think it's of Cassandra. I'll put that up now so you can see that. She's long gone, sadly, in the game, or in my save anyway. But I do have that. I can reference back if I need to help me remember. So what I'd like to do is show you a household. I'm going to go through some updates, what's happened with them, and I'm thinking the Goths are a good bet. I'm thinking I'd like to do other episodes of this as well, so I can look at the Goths now, but there's other families I might want to highlight or showcase. I'm not sure I could ever play through a full rotation on video, maybe if I stream, potentially. But yeah, we'll meet a household. We'll go look at the Goths, and I'll kind of go through their family tree and show you how that all looks. They're pretty iconic. Let's go and see how they've been getting on for the past 100 years. So here we are at the Goth household, and from the outside not much has changed. I'm not much of a builder, so I haven't gone in for much renovation on the Goth household. But let's meet the family. So in here we have my very favourite sim of all time. It's Alexander. He's obviously starts the game as a child. And he's not a particularly good guy in my Pleasantview. He's made some questionable choices, which I'll go into in a moment. But I love him. I think he's fantastic. As you can see from his age bar, 101 days old. He's at the very end, pretty much. And he has had a bit of the elixir of life, so he's had a few chances to carry on living. He shares the house with his daughter Bella. Seemed like an obvious name choice. And his robot friend, AI Fred, or Alfred. His son-in-law made this robot. His son-in-law no longer living, and that has absolutely nothing to do with the cow plant in the garden, of course. Everything to do with a robotics incident gone horribly wrong. He also lives with his 3 grandchildren. So Walter is actually the second oldest. The eldest is one of the kids in college at the moment. And then the twins, Alistair and Dorothy, who's playing with the cat. So I'll show you how the family tree looks for Alexander. I'll click on this here. Bring this up. So yeah, this is the current state of it for Alexander. So he had, count to count, 5 children. So he had his eldest daughter, Bella, with his college girlfriend and their wife, Caroline. They met in college. So they had 4 children together. Show you Caroline. They had 4. They had Bella. Then Will broke, because you can see there. Back in those days, I didn't know about the cloning effect. Will was a clone of Bella. And so he had to be taken away. It was one of the early scandals of Pleasantview. It was very hush-hush. Went to live with Bo Broke, who looked after him and raised him. And he later on died in a fire, which is very tragic. Then they have their own twins, Henry and Edward. Alexander also, his second child, was Rigel. He was obviously an alien, and so he had a little adventure into space, and his second child is the result of that. And you can see here all of his grandchildren, all on this screen. There's quite a few. Yeah, and this spreads across the Goth family mainly, lots of Goths, and then at the very end, the Dreamers. Edward married into the Dreamer family, and then we have some Dreamer kids over here. We can look back at Mortimer's family tree. So Mortimer, it's too big for the screen. You can see Cassandra and her children. She had 4 sons. Alexander with his 5 children. Then with Dina, he had Cesare and Leonardo. And they have had their own families, pretty much more financially successful than the Goths currently. They still live in Pleasantview. They lived together until quite recently. When they got older, Cesare and Leonardo started to fight, which they hadn't done before. They grew up together. They were really close brothers. But when they got to elders, it all got a bit touchy. So Leonardo moved out. So yeah, so Alexander is at the end of his life, very nearly, and that's quite tough. He's been in my game the whole time, 8 whole years. But I think given that his daughter is already an elder herself, it's probably, she's attracted to the robot. I hope that's okay. So given that she's an elder herself, yeah, I think it's probably time for him to pass on, move on. So I do have another rule that helps with money, and that's that the minute an adult sim becomes an elder, they have to retire from their job. So Bella is currently retired. She was an elite operative. She nearly got to the top of the special investigation career, but not quite. She has a part-time job, that's fine. She's now a teacher's aide. That's also something I implement. What I also like to do for my Sims on their likely last day of life is try and do kind of as much as they want to. Kind of let them have a really nice last day before the Grim Reaper comes. And this will be a tough one. Like, Alexander's been in my game for 8 years. That's a bit much. It's a tough time to say goodbye to him. But I think it's time. So we can spend some time today. It's a Sunday. Spend time with the family. Just have a nice day. So the rest of the house, I don't think it's changed too much as far as I can remember. Because he had so many kids and then so many grandkids, I had to make some extra bedrooms, I think, or change around the layouts for these rooms. Then when Bella's husband was alive, before his terrible robotics accident, this was his workshop on the top floor. He built his robots up here, built Alfred there as well. That also meant he was pretty distant from his kids. So the eldest, I should have showed you this actually. Bella's eldest son is Roger, who's currently in university. Barely knew his father because he was making robots pretty much all day, every day. And the same really for Walter. He didn't see too much of his dad. By the time Dorothy and Alistair came along, he was kind of at the top of that. He'd got his gold badge. He'd made Alfred to help around the house. So he was around a bit more. He did kind of start to make amends. But someone who never liked... I've actually forgotten his name. What was he called? Cooper. Someone who never liked Cooper was Alexander. If that can tell you a little bit about maybe why that fateful accident happened. But Alexander loves Alfred, loves the robots. They have a great time together. So let's have a look at what he wants. He wants to have a party. I mean, that could be a good idea. We could throw a little party and get some family friends round. Let's see how that feels. Let's have a house party. Why not? I will invite round. So very early on, when they went to college together, Alexander and Beau were great friends. And as you can see here, they were very much in love at the time. They enjoyed being with each other. They had a lovely time together. Unfortunately, both being the heads of their... Well, Alexander being the head of the Goth household, at least. It really meant their relationship couldn't go very far. Back then, I didn't have a mod that would allow them to have offspring. Alexander in particular wanted biological offspring. And so it couldn't work out, which was a real shame. They both kind of went their separate ways, married their college girlfriends or girlfriends they met in college, had their own children. But they did continue to kind of know each other over time. When Caroline and Beau's wife died, I tried to move them in together to see if they would like that for their retirement. Strangely enough, they didn't. They did not get on very well at all. They were still in love, still attracted to each other, but it just didn't work out. So they both moved back to their family households. And yeah, that was fine. So yeah, we'll throw a house party. We'll get Beau to come round. Potentially to say goodbye. I think Beau's a little bit younger, possibly. Elixir of Life makes it difficult to keep track. And then what's he want to do? Pull a prank? A great party. Oh, here they all come. So let's meet some people. There's going to be a lot of elders, I think. So we have Beau over here. It's a very nice coat. We have Cesare, that's one of the younger siblings, who moved out. His other sons, Edward and Henry, are also here. They were the twins. Very, very similar. They both got strong Alexander genes. They're very long noses. And then Rigel, who was the first and only sim to have the original pollination technician as his other parent. After that I got it modded, so there's some slightly less flat-faced aliens in the neighbourhood as well. We should probably set up for a party. Okay, we've got a few party items out. And we'll have Alfred make some food for everyone. Alfred finds Beau attractive. Unexpected. Oh, we can have the kids meet some relatives. Say hello to Cesare. Don't ask him to leave. Tell him a joke. Oh, it's out of tune. So we'll let Walter hang out with his uncle. They don't see much of each other. It was a slightly difficult situation when Dina moved in and didn't marry Mortimer but had his children. Alex was involved in... who's fallen in love? Those two. Okay, we'll check back in with that later. So yeah, it was like a difficult situation when Dina moved in. Alexander looked after the kids when they were toddlers, but yeah, he was pretty concerned about his kind of family heritage. Was Dina a gold digger? He's only a teenager at this point, but it was weighing pretty heavily on him. So the solution was that they'd move out, they'd get some money. No! Try and make a nice video about your sim save, and then some rowdy elders are just woohooing in the upstairs bedroom. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. If that doesn't make the party a roof raiser, I don't know what will. So here's the eldest of the Goth grandchildren. This is Roger. When Alexander does pass, Roger comes back from university. I do see him being kind of the new head of the town. Like, I do kind of have it unofficially that Alexander is... He's in charge of a lot of the rules, enforcing them, making sure everyone sort of stays in place. Alexander, as I say, not necessarily the best guy in the world. Oh, I'm not sure that's appropriate, Dorothy. They're upper class people, I guess. They have their own rules. So yeah, Roger's going to be taking over, and I think he's a fortune sim. He's going to have a lot more focus on making money and getting the Goth family back where they need to be. Because 62,000 simoleons, there's a lot of bills coming out every couple of days. It's not really where the family should be, at least not in his mind. As you can see, he's the kind of guy who wears a suit to college. So he's going to come back and he's going to start some businesses, I think, make money any way he can in the Goth name. Tell me you two have stopped being naked at least. Is it weird to fall in love with your dad's lover from college? I mean, I think it might be weird. Nobody tell them. Like that Dorothy didn't decide to get out of her pyjamas. That's the best way to do it. Is Walter available to talk? This is Brianna Broke. So she's one of the Broke kids currently. Yeah, that should be absolutely fine. So yeah, one of the problems with Alexander living so long, I mean, I've enjoyed it, but it means Bella hasn't had that sort of head of the household position that she might have otherwise had. So that's going to pass straight to Walter when he comes back from university. Sorry, to Roger when he comes back from university. Parented by robots. So we do get some pensions coming in, which is handy. But it's really still not quite enough to keep the family afloat. Their bills may come out soon. Why don't you serve some coffee? Bella? It's a roof raiser. He's going to have a happy last day with an excellent party. So yeah, Bella obviously is Bella Goth's granddaughter, but doesn't really have many of her features. She has the eye colour, I think, that comes from Mortimer. But she's not very much like Bella. She did have black hair previously. But I like her a lot. She was great. She worked very hard at the spy career, which again meant she wasn't really around for her kids a lot. And it was Alexander who was involved in them being raised. So they were all very close to him. I think they're all BFFs. Yeah, they're all very strong. They are now, of course, strong with their mum. But yeah, he's been a fantastic influence on the kids, if not the neighbourhood as a whole. I do like once you play the neighbourhood for this long, you get loads of these kinds of connections. So you've got Alistair asking his uncle Henry to play catch with him outside. You get loads of really cool family links across generations, and I really, really like that. I think it's excellent. Slightly concerning thing is when the game stops recognising family links. So, for example, Walter over here has quite a few wants around Tina, and this is Tina Caliente, so she is related to him essentially, kind of. If I go back under, if I follow this family tree, so from Mortimer to Cesare, she is Cesare's youngest daughter. The game doesn't recognise them as related, and I kind of agonised about. I kind of went back and forth about whether it would be okay for them to have a relationship. The game stopped recognising them as related. They're kind of second cousins, I think. Maybe they're cousins. Just because of the way the generations work out. So I was worrying about this. They autonomously had their first kiss with ACR. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, a roof raiser. Well done, Alexander. It's been permaplaque for about 50 years, but it all helps. So yeah, so I agonised, and ACR made them have their first kiss. I was like, oh my god, this is wrong. Then I realised I had already, without even noticing, crossed the families over at least twice. The Dreamers and Goths that got married were all descended from Cassandra, and so it's all a bit of a tangled knot. If that is uncomfortable for you, yeah, maybe have more townies than I had. But the game stops recognise them as family, so yeah, I made some mistakes. I think I've done it twice as well. I think there's another family which I can't remember who it is. You can clean up, please, Alfred. So I did at one point get rid of most of the graves from the Goth family cemetery. There were far too many. I still have Cooper over there because he's fairly new. But I never actually got around to removing the wedding arch. I think I've used it for a couple of other Sims that got married here. But that's still there from the beginning of the game. So it's getting close to 6 PM. I think it might actually be about to happen that we'll lose Alexander. Man, I'm like genuinely sad about the fact he's going to go because he's been in my game for so long. But I think it's important. I think the next generations have to take over, and I struggle with letting John Lothario go. That took me a few goes to be ready for, and for Cassandra as well. But their descendants are doing well in the town. I think it's fantastic. They get to live on. So Dorothy and Alistair will grow up soon. That'll be good. And in summer, Walter will come back. Sorry, Roger will... I'll get them confused. Roger will come back from university. Oh wait, does he have a slither left? I think he might do. I think he may have, potentially, another day. I've thrown his going away party too soon. So I was definitely wrong. This isn't Alexander's last day. This is his second to last day. He's going to have one more, which is, good news for me. I have longer to come to terms with it. But yeah, that's been a bit of an insight into my Pleasantview, the way that I play the game, where characters are up to now, and where they will soon be going, in Alexander's case. I hope you've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed, obviously, playing the game for a very long time, but making this as well, kind of going through it all. I think it's really good. I think it's really fun to share. I'm thinking about doing some more kind of showcases of the different families. So there is a family you think, I wonder what would happen to this family, where did they go, what happened to this individual? Just let me know and I'll be really happy to show how that played out in my neighbourhood. Obviously it's not definitive, but it is how it happened for me. So thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please do like, subscribe for more, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.